Used to be the one they all love to hate on, but now I work hard and I never take a day off. Y'all consider me as nothing but a target till I'm locked and loaded ready. If these motherfuckers want it, they said hip-hop's dead. I disagree with that statement, so don't repeat that shit again. And think of me when you say it, cause I'm the reason that it's breathing. Put it back on the stretch.
All right, what's going on, everybody? I am the one, the only, the WOOKIE, joined along here by all my friends. Hi, friends.
Hey.
We got... I like how Z's the only one who answers. We got Big Z.
What's up, Keyforge?
JR.
Hello, Keyforge community.
And Dan.
Yep.
Yep, Dan's here, as normal. Dan, I love the perkiness he added to your intro today. Keep it up.
Yep.
All right, so we have everybody's favorite segment. In fact, I actually get a lot of comments about this. Why I suck, or why you suck, or I suck, either one. This one's going to be brought to you by JR. JR, why do you suck at Keyforge this week?
So the main reason that I suck Keyforge this week is knowing when to cycle your deck and when not to cycle. Had a really, really interesting outcome. I was playing an Archon deck, and so for me, this was relevant because I wanted to go ahead and make sure that I was leaving behind specific cards that I could cycle out to be able to do damage on the other side of the board. However, on the opposite side, I was facing someone who had mimicry. And so I think you really have to evaluate what is, by keeping your deck alive and your discard pile very, very high, you're giving a lot of play value to mimicry. Had I gone ahead and cycled, and it was off, I literally timed it by one card. Had I just drawn the extra card, mimicry would have been a dead card. I would have been not as well off, but in comparison to the play with mimicry, I was much farther ahead. So kind of knowing where your deck is, where your opponent's deck is, and being able to time that appropriately, I think that's the reason that I suck at Keyforge this week. So knowing when to cycle versus not to cycle, what you have versus what your opponent has. And I threw a couple of different cards down. So Artanu and Chain Gang, we want to be able to keep in our deck. We want to be able to go ahead and keep cycling back through. Mimicry and Furnace, well, I don't want to have pips left around, and I don't want to have actions left around for people to go ahead and borrow or copy. So that's my little tidbit for you all, trying to take that next level, trying to get into a little bit higher understanding for Keyforge. But check. What's the goal of your deck? What's the goal of your opponents? And what honestly is going to hurt you more if you're both in this situation that I was?
So I guess the question I would have for you is what would have weighed out the better options?
The better option, I was facing a double mimicry deck. And so mimicry had the ability to, I pushed to be able to get to check. So by keeping Artanu viable, is I could reap and I could get to 6 for my final key. And I was up 2 keys to 0. However, that call completely swung the game because mimicry allowed for my opponent to be able to make a really nice play. I honestly forget off the top of my head what it was. I don't know if that was a board wipe or if that was a big steal, but it caused some issues. And from there, they were able to reestablish the board, and they were able to come back. And that was the turning, defining moment in that game. And so I ended up actually losing that game. And definitely a reason why it needs to be up this week of why I suck at Keyforge.
So in the end, you came to the conclusion, hindsight being 2020, that the risk wasn't worth the reward.
No, we were playing Chainbound. I was having fun. I looked at it as I can get to check. So I looked at that ABC, always be checking. And I made that my priority. But had I slowed down an extra 30 seconds, an extra minute, looked at it and gone, I'm facing a double mimicry deck, and I'm better to go ahead and slow up one turn. I'm up 2 keys and turn my deck so that they have no options. That's the difference. And as a result of not doing that, it was a huge fail.
I guess my question is, if he doesn't have the double mimicries, do you just go forward for the win?
I think that in that scenario, yeah, you're looking at what is your opponent trying to do. So for me, yeah, I have no problem staying with Dis and going ahead and calling it, getting to check. I think ABC there, always be checking, is what you want to do 99% of the time. But it was one of those fringe cases where I consistently run on autopilot with always be checking. And that was not the time to be checking. It really wasn't. It was a better play long term to simply turn over that deck. That game was over in 2 more turns if I had just done that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my question was, if he whiffs on the mimicry, do you win?
Yes.
Like if he doesn't have those in hand and they're still in his deck and he whiffs on it and you just take the W.
Yep.
You just continue, you just move forward.
Yeah, I had enough creatures out. He didn't have a wipe. He didn't have the Amber Control. It really swung the game. And having 2 mimicries, that's really bad that it was missed or an oversight. But one led to the other.
Awesome. So remember, always check for mimicry. It's a card that must die.
But I think going ahead and also seeing Infernus, being able to. I just had a game where there was a triple Infernus, triple Hysteria, and I had an Infernus myself, and I'm looking at it going ahead and playing my Infernus, and frankly, we had both turned our deck, and that's a big problem. If you're counting on the Amber Control there, and there's no pips, there's no cards in your deck or your partner or your opponent's because you both turned it. Well, be aware of your control. What does the cards actually do? How are you going to get that person off check?
And how can they get you off?
Correct.
Yeah, well, learning as we go why we suck at Keyforge and how to suck less in the future, as always.
Yeah, watching for that deck flip is just become more important with every set. Especially you're saying the Infernus, not losing cards like Chain Gang and Ortanu, Arises, Grim Reminders, all that stuff that when your deck flips makes such a huge thing. And I've definitely lost a few games on Arises and Grim Reminders where I play one too many card, I flip my deck, and I realized I forgot to play my Grim Reminder or didn't get to play my Grim Reminder on a turn where just by discarding one mediocre card might have left my deck sitting there to set up the huge Grim Reminder. Yeah, I see that happen quite a bit. So that when to flip your deck becomes really important, both offensively and defensively, depending on what's going on.
I was going to just say what you just said. I've noticed speed become more and more important as we kind of see sets come out. Like, speed of the deck has just become, it seems like more of a priority. Coda, your speed was important, but not as important. AOA, everything in AOA was just slow. But then as we go into Worlds Collide and even Mass Mutation, that ability to just be able to burn through your deck, to not give Infernus targets, to not be able to take away Mimicry targets and stuff like that has really become important. Really, really become important. Like, heavily. So,
yeah.
Speed continues to, I guess, quote unquote, speed up. Because the faster deck is, the faster it typically turns. And the faster it turns, the less time they're going to get to pull an Infernus or to do a double Mimicry. So, word to the wise, keep your eyes out on those super speedy decks. I think that's kind of been what I've seen lately. You guys, anything? You seeing that too, or is it just me?
No, I'm one of the reasons why F exists in DOK for that reason. I've always been on the side archiving, turning cards. I mean, when there is no resource attached with the number of cards you play, like almost every other game, the ability to play more cards per turn is going to more consistently generate wins.
Yeah, I think we've always said that. Like, cards in this game kind of are your resources, and the more you can play, the better off you are.
Pretty much. There are some decks where it just doesn't work because it doesn't. You're not drawing towards a goal.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as the deck achieves a competitive goal, F is valuable.
Well, but I think we've talked about this before. Both Sheep and I have gone ahead and said our frustration. We feel almost obligated, like we need to have Logos in some of these competitive decks.
Because it's the best.
Logos brings a lot with that F, with the speed. But the problem is in the game, you can play as many cards as are in your hand. So there's a real advantage to archiving, to being able to have a large hand, to being able to play multiple cards at a time, because frankly, you're not punished by it. You're actually advantaged to be able to draw more cards. And so that's why for so long, Logos has been absolutely dominant and a key piece. Now, that's in some of the top end decks, and that's why we consistently see it there.
Has control become less, I don't want to say less effective, but less of a focus point? Like I remember a lot, not too long ago, we were looking for the control of the weeks through Restring Guntuses.
The answer is very evident in the meta, and the answer is no, it has not become less effective. It's just, it looks different. The reason why Infernus is meta dominant is because of the control aspect, not the 2 Amber that it crushes. It is entirely because most decks do cycle. If you're removing their best cards from cycle during cycle 1, you are controlling their ability to win the game.
Do you consider Infernus a control card?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yes.
To a degree, I would agree with you. I would say he's more lowering your opponent's expected number, but I guess I get to see the control factor.
You haven't been listening to our own podcast, have you?
No, I have.
He does the editing.
I do all the editing, so I have to listen to everything.
We have talked about how people who are using Infernus as primary Amber control often actually end up generating a deck they can't beat because it becomes so creature focused that you can't deal with it anymore because they just cycle creatures.
Yeah, if I'm sitting on a 3 Infernus deck, I'm looking at probably taking out 3 pips out of those 3 plays. The other 3 cards, I am going to try to remove their primary keys of their win con. If that happens to also have a pip, that's just gravy. But like, I'm looking for stuff like City State. I'm looking for stuff like Mimicry. I'm looking for stuff like their Ronnies or their Bonithings if they have a way to like recur them. Their Infernus.
Even to be able to go ahead and see what is the key piece. If they need to control board, I can take out their board wipe.
Yeah,
okay, now
they're
correct.
Flux.
So I think that's a really underutilized piece from many players, who are kind of in that mid tier, or they're trying to be able to get the next step, but they just keep playing Infernus for the sake of here's the Amber. And there's times where you need that pip, but it makes it way too efficient. Too efficient.
Yeah, if your Infernus isn't taking them off key, targeting important tools is more important than Amber. Often. Not always.
It does, to some point, does dictate what other Amber control is in the deck. If the Infernus is a big chunk of the Amber control, that is a little bit different from what we're talking about. But a lot of like B+ or better decks, it also has other elements to Amber control in the deck, or else it's not B+ anyway. So you can be focused on like, this is what my deck does, and I know this is what it does. I've identified my opponent's deck. This is what my opponent's deck does. So if I get a chance to burn X, Y, or Z card, my chance of winning goes way up. That's what you need to be doing. Because
lesson of the day.
And nothing like the Infernus on Infernus fight where you're playing chicken. Yeah. Well, I can't put my Infernuses out until you put your Infernuses out, because I got to purge them.
Board wipe and purge all my Infernuses because I have Exhumed. I don't want to lose value.
Correct. I also think the underutilized piece from many players is the idea to purge your own pointless cards. So if you can go ahead and hit cards that frankly are dead cards, you're making your deck thinner, and that makes it more efficient on your side too. So if there's no Amber, if there's no key cards in your opponents, think about going ahead and hitting your own. If there is Amber and key cards there, think about still, is there something that you can make yours more efficient? It's going to have to be a cost analysis. What are you gaining from that play?
Yeah, the deck you referenced yourself that you're playing against, the 3 Hysteria, 3 Infernus. I know that deck. It's mine. One of its own win cons is purging out all of its own Untamed, and then you're just playing Shadows and Dis the rest of the game, and it becomes hella oppressive because they can't do anything.
Yeah, there was, at one point we looked down and there was 19 cards purged from one deck, and there was another 10 that was purged from the other deck. And it goes very, very quickly.
Yes, it does. The cards just disappear, and then you're starting to, hey, I'm cycling every turn, every other turn, or whatever it is. It's very, very interesting.
All right. So moving on, we did get some news from FFG. Not Keyforge news, but L5R news. So L5R is no more. This is kind of they're going through their last cycle, and then L5R is going to become not a thing for FFG anymore. And I think a lot of people are looking at the fact of what does this mean for Keyforge? Keyforge is kind of, when it comes down to card games, I believe, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, it's kind of the last of the Mohicans for FFG competitive card games, I guess. There's no more L5R. Star Wars Destiny is gone. Star Wars LCG is gone. What else did they have? They had another one too, and I can't remember what it is, but this is kind of it. What does this mean for
not
Keyforge?
Really my arena for all the stuff that they have as far as other competitive games, because this is all I play. But I personally can't think of any others. What was coming out when Keyforge, before the world shut down? The Marvel game?
Yeah, Marvel. Well, that was a co-op game, so that really, I guess I've noticed with
the Lord of the Rings co-op game.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't know they have a Lord of. Isn't that a board game?
Oh, there's a card game too.
Oh, was there a co-op card game?
Yes.
Okay, I was unaware, but I'm assuming that's still being made. But I think there's a lot of different things we have to look at because I know a lot of people are having the panic attack right now. Am I wrong in that?
Well, no. Some people are because they don't keep up with what's really going on. So, I mean, as sad as it is, the real sort of news of this week is Call of Discovery. Another podcast got to interview Aaron, the designer.
Yep.
So that's really where all the Keyforge news to talk about has really come from, is from an interview on another podcast, sadly. But that is what it is, and he is currently working on set 8. Set 6 is done, set 7 is done. He's currently working on 8. And then the other thing is everybody's looking at this one post about L5R being dead, which was already a game that had about the smallest game community you can get, right?
Yeah.
At this point, I mean, it's an LCG. It's a living card game. So the problem with LCGs is kind of apparent, where you kind of are given everything, right? So you buy a box,
why is
and
that
that
a
has
problem? That's like a benefit as a player.
It is a benefit, but as you get deeper and deeper and deeper into sets, you got to buy more and more. Like, so if I want to just, let's say L5R was still going, I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go join L5R. It becomes more and more expensive up front to join that game. And that's why you saw games like, I'm trying to think, L5R, Game of Thrones, Arkham Horror is still going, Netrunner, and the Star Wars LCG crush, because as you continue going through, the upfront cost becomes more and more and more. So
that there's truth to that.
If you get it on the ground floor, you're set.
No, it just doesn't seem to hurt as much because you spread your cost out. You didn't spend less than the other guy.
Right.
You've just spent it over a period of time, so it seems better.
Right.
I see what you're saying there. That is a whole thing with living card games. That can be a benefit or a negative. They also probably don't have a good short sealed style format in those.
Right, and
right?
they don't
only play the new stuff.
Right.
But besides the fact that that's its own problem, the other big piece of news I think that people aren't looking at is with the L5R cancellation, they also had the L5R OP announcement, which said, unlike our other games where we're planning for 2022 major events, L5R either gets something in 2021 or we ain't doing nothing with it.
Yeah.
So that to me again says we are planning for 2022 to be a real year again and get things rolling. And L5R is dead, and if we do something in 2021, that's fine. If we don't, that's fine too to us. Where they're planning for their other games still be around in 2022. The fact that they made 2 posts with different language to me says that they have completely different plans. So
when it's consistent language for what we know or what we are being told and what we believe for FFG's Keyforge arena, is that the last time we saw news on that, which was 3 weeks ago or something.
Well, we didn't really see news on
at
that.
the end of the year, and they plan on doing a relaunch type thing in 22. So that does kind of stay consistent with what we want.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, they were saying 2021. That's what they're looking at, but hopefully 2022 for sure. But again, it depends on the world.
Yes.
Right. Where this other game, they said 2021 are dead.
Yes. Yeah. Well, so they did not say that for what we're doing for our game here. And
but I can see why people are fearing, the inevitable axe coming for Keyforge.
Like Keyforge has been that way from go. Like when I was in Seattle to play my first Vault Tour, there was already posts way back then, first Vault Tour ever, about how long would it last, and is it going to die because FFG all their stuff. Like that's one of the first, some of the first stuff I read on Facebook.
Is there ever been a card game released that after you bought the first stuff, there wasn't already people saying this isn't going to make it anywhere?
I mean, y'all know this is the only thing I've ever played, so I'm just saying, from my experience walking in, this has not gone away. I don't think it's any more or less frequent than it's always been. Except there's one period of Keyforge where I can guarantee there was more doomsaying than any other period. And that was during AOA. Because it was that damn bad.
I mean, Magic did have
the most money I've ever spent on a deck, and it's AOA. Actually.
You got a real good
Twice.
one. I played it personally myself, and it is very, very good.
Twice now, I've spent the most money I've ever spent on decks, on AOA decks. I'm just a fool.
Yeah,
and one of them is good.
But you've gone ahead and pointed that out, Sheep, is that for competitive, top tier AOA is very, very good. It just means that you have to find that top tier of AOA.
And
that's where
it happens to have a high SAS. It is normally not a high SAS because AOA is very tricky. He just found the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I found that deck that just has all the good Coda cards in it and a couple of good AOA cards.
Yeah, it's got good AOA cards and mostly Coda cards. It's like a, I don't know how to merge those. Call of Ascension deck.
Call of Ascension. But I mean, does this really mean anything for Keyforge? I guess it's kind of a wait and see. I mean,
I don't think anything's changed. There's still the same amount of Doomsayers as have always been.
Yep.
I am super hopeful. I know FFG can't do anything about the state of the world, but hopefully we do get back on track and events do start at the end of 21. I've seen a lot of other murmurs about other event type things starting to take place at the end of 21. So hopefully it all kind of reboots around then, and we can have a really great Christmas.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and say, in my opinion, call me naive, but no news is good news here on Keyforge's front. Keyforge was not shown to have that same outcome, so that means potentially more money for Keyforge to be put into it. The Keyforge community online is absolutely amazing, and I'm playing more Keyforge now than when it was in real life. So I do continue to encourage everyone, get on, play games. There's so much to be able to partake in. So
yeah, the lead developer over on L5R was an assistant developer on Keyforge, so he also has more time to work on Keyforge.
Yep.
Woo-hoo.
Fantastic, but so I guess no doom and gloom yet, or don't get too crazy.
Right,
on the doom and gloom.
All kinds of games get canceled under all kinds of companies. That doesn't worry me at all. Like a card game with probably a smaller player base than Keyforge.
I don't know if I've ever met anybody personally who plays L5R.
There was a bunch so when we were in Illinois last year, is it 2 years ago now? It might be 2 years ago now. 2 years ago now because it was canceled last year. They had
if
the
you're
big
ever thinking about something
event.
that happened, you have to skip a year, so it's always 2 years.
Well, and at Gen Con 2 years ago, next to you guys was the L5R players.
So I guess at the Chicago one, at our Chicago event at Schaumburg, I'd say the L5R group was smaller than the Keyforge group.
They were about a quarter of the size.
It wasn't that small? I don't remember.
I remember we had 250 some odd people at that event.
But outside of our events, at the shop or whatever. I've never seen
never.
L5R people play, anything like that. So like I know the actual player base is way smaller than ours, and we were super new, obviously. Had the world not shut down, I thought we were trending up very high, getting prepared for all sorts of the new stuff. But anyway, what do we got next on our list here?
Speaking of events that have happened, I believe there was an event last weekend for Valentine's Day.
Yes, the KFPL ran our Forging with Friends doubles event. People were having a blast, it seems. I got a lot of positive feedback about the event. And then Challenge super crashed on us, which was super unfortunate. We offered a refund to all of the players since it was a cash-based event. And also because of that, we extended since we didn't have any monetary prizes, since we offered the refund, we decided to extend our KFPL slots to add an additional whole person per group. So I believe, Ewok, I sent you the names if you want to kind of let people know where our pairs finished and then who got invited to the KFPL based on the February event.
Yeah, so really big shout out to all the people at KFPL. I know that was tough. It was not what you guys wanted. On the player side, I can say I had an absolute blast. X-Ray was a great partner. It was a lot of fun. And I do hope that we get a chance to be able to see that type of event in the future again, because it's something that was unique and it was fun to be able to play with a friend.
I do want to comment on that real quick. Before the event had crashed on us, we were finished with round 6. In 6 rounds in, we only had 2 pairs drop from the event in total, which if anyone's been to any competitive event, after like round 2, people like start dropping like flies. So that was cool to see. I mean, we spend time talking about these events to try to offer something fun and engaging. So we were glad that people enjoyed it, stuck around for 6 rounds. Unfortunately, it ended how it ended. But originally, we were thinking about not running it again till February. But given the positive feedback, I might think about it for over the summer. I know as soon as possible, we're going to try to do a sealed Dark Tidings event, because obviously that's going to be what people are going to want to do. But I actually still need to decide what we're doing for March.
All right. So anyway, teams. So finishing after the 6 rounds, while challenge was a bummer. Team Zenzik with Grant, Titus, and Ugluck came in first with 34 keys, and they had already qualified, but still huge shout out to them taking down 34 keys. Coming in second was a big, massive tie. And this is where we're talking. This was very, very close. Mm-hmm. So with 32 keys, we had Skippy Time Hogs, which is Seb, and then GJ999. So huge shout outs. And basically, they looked at some key differential and then the buccal score in order to kind of determine the order. But absolutely phenomenal. Another 32 came in with Italian Resurgence, which was Keaners and Dammit 96. And so congratulations to them. And then we had another 32 was He and She. So that's Amtaka. I think I got that right. Amrataka. Sorry about that. And then Zamaris. And then my buddy X-Ray and I, with an X-Rayed Ewok from AC, came in with 32 keys. So I am actually very excited to be able to join KFPL Season 2. So that's
Ewoks in the KFPL, guys. So if you don't already know them and know that you're a listener, send them a DM saying congratulations.
Yeah, I haven't ever made a big event, so I was glad to be able to do it with a teammate and
you day-2 Shadow Worlds.
Yeah, but technically, I haven't done anything where it's been a Vault Tour in person. It's on the checklist. It will happen.
Shadow World's a big event, huh?
I would say it was quite a large event.
I'm kidding. I'm sure.
Yeah, Shadow Worlds was. We played well. All right, then moving on, we had our chess clocks, which was Dave Cordero and Jason, and they had already qualified, but a big shout out to them. Mm-hmm. So that kind of wraps up our teams with all 32 keys. So without it, we're going to have quite a few. Those last 2 rounds would have been absolutely amazing. Other teams that qualified. So again, super generous KFPL opening it up for others to be able to get in. Because you guys were just looking at taking the top 2.
Had we stopped right there and it would
I would not have made it.
Skippy Time Hogs and he and she, had we not extended the invite due to the circumstance. But you would have had 2 more rounds to get 1 more key differential on the 2 people above you. Also, you would have had the key differential had you not punted one of your games that I got to cast.
2. Well, we can talk about that later, but 2.
Why didn't you put that on how you suck?
Yeah. I should also, let's back up, and Italian Resurgence had already qualified, so I didn't say that earlier, but congratulations to them. Other teams that made it in, Dirty Dinos with 31 keys. That was Xander for Dewin and Frozen Tauntaun. Then we had Screech.
His brother. They're brothers.
That's awesome. That is really cool. Screech Babam. And that was Tuck M007 and Callum's SLZ. And then to finish up, we had the Grey Riders with our own Sydney Steele and Unarmed Goat. So congratulations to everyone that made Season 2 for KFPL.
Unarmed Goat, is that a brother of yours, Sheep?
I am a sheep, not a goat.
They're kind of the same, aren't they?
So the elephant in the room, since
and Ewoks are the same thing too.
Oh goodness!
So you want to keep fighting?
While they're fighting over on the backside, I will go ahead and address this elephant in the room. I had a great first set of 4 rounds. I did very, very, very well. And I won all 4 games. One of them was on a key cheat right before my opponent was going to take the win. So before break, spot on, 4-0. And I know X-Ray was a little jazzed with what happened in that 4th round. It was a very close game. We took a break, and I just absolutely fell apart. They put me on screen, so if you guys want to go ahead and check that out, you can see this epic fail.
Ewok falls apart on stream.
I fell apart on screen, and I fell apart when the card Amber Lucian is played. So at that time, I have 2 lovely bad pennies that happen to be in the deck I was playing, and they are prime fodder to be put into the archives and never be seen again. And instead, Amber Lucian put them out and wiped my beautiful Mars board that was there. That was one piece. That's not the problem. My problem is I looked at my cards and I had a way to get to check by reaping with those bad pennies and then playing another card to archive a card, and I'm cycling cards and I'm moving on. Instead, I saw the logos side that I could use standardized testing to get rid of a creature and get to check. The problem was that my mind glitched and did not tell me that bad pennies are my lowest and will be killed and returned to my hand to take away the 2 spots. So I promptly got to check, but it essentially stopped the movement of my cards in that deck, and it really, really hurt. And that was bad. That was really, really bad. So go and check it out. Even
as everyone's heard me say, Keyforge has way more game-losing decisions than game-winning ones, and Ewok highlights it real well.
But I think that's important, is that we can all be there. I don't consider myself one of those elite players, but at the same time, you got to be able to play when you're there, and you got to see each situation. So it happens. Try not to get into tilt and be able to move it.
Hundreds of times.
Yep. But I think when it happens, don't get yourself on tilt. And I saw that in game 2. That was game 5. And on game number 6, notice, so we were actually in first for a huge chunk of this, and then we dropped to second. And then we magically fit in with all of these 32 friends because my deck is set to go ahead and score 2 keys. That's what it was set for. I went ahead and went with a nice Martian Generosity. I counted it out, and I double counted that key abduction is worth the amber that's on it, but it's worth a card. And so I missed it by 1. And that was a major, major mistake. And so I finished with 1 key, and my opponent finished with 3. So realistically, had I just taken the extra turn, I had plenty of time to be able to do that, and that should have been 33 keys, and we wouldn't have been stressing. But when Challenge went ahead and basically went down, my heart was all in a big giant knot, because I saw rounds 5 and 6, and I saw my buddy X-Ray playing absolutely amazing, and that was, I lost us a key, and then I lost us 2 keys. And so the total was 3, and that 3 just magically bumped us out based on tiebreakers. And I was sitting there just like stunned, absolutely stunned, because the deck had no issue. It was the player in that case. And that player was me who basically let X-Ray down. And so I was sitting there. So I'm thankful that, I think that the decks, I would have loved to see in the last 2 rounds, but I was in a really not a good spot at that point. I just got up and walked. There's nothing that you can do.
Yeah.
I can't change what's happening in the challenge.
Take a walk. Yep.
So I know that X-Ray said that he went for a walk and he actually came back and people were congratulating him. I took a walk and then came back and just stared at a screen. So I think X-Ray, you made a better choice. But please know that things happen, and so it's really neat to see that we're in. Let's see what Triad's going to bring.
For sure.
Alrighty, Dan, why don't you tell us what we got? Dan, why don't you go ahead and tell us what we got coming up for upcoming events? And then we'll do some wrapping up thoughts. So we as we prepare for Chainbound tonight.
Yeah, so we have our continuing Tuesday sealed events where we're getting $8. Right now it's Mass Mutation sealed decks plus shipping, obviously. But the deck itself is only $8, and then you can wait until you've played in several and have it all shipped at once, or however you want to do it. But that's straight Mass Mutation sealed. This is run through gems, so you get amber shards and everything for playing 2, and it's also part of our leaderboard set, so there is a chance to win alternate art leaderboard decks. That pairs with our Sunday Chainbounds. Again, this is run through gems, so there's amber shards, chains are hung, and this counts towards the leaderboard. This one costs nothing, so you can come play on Sundays for free. The regulars are playing under their Archons Corner Arms Reduction Agreement, so they're playing at 75 SAS cap lately. So you can come show up with stuff in that range and expect to have fair and fun games. And then we also have Thursday night Chainbounds, where it's open field. Bring the heat, show off your guns, have some fun. That one doesn't count towards the leaderboard. So those are our standard events still, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. And then
you could also be like Sheep and just play sealed and go ahead and bring out some 56 SAS and be able to show people how to, I don't need a SAS number. I'll take you down anyway. So there's a lot of fun decks that are being played, and the amount of laughter that I hear on the Discord as people are chatting, it's wonderful. So I encourage everyone, come on, check it out for our leaderboard and for Chainbound.
Yeah, I have been going 3-1 with random sealed AOA decks. Can't get that 4th win, but I get 3 of them. So that's something. And then our big event starts not this Saturday, the 20th, but the following Saturday, the 27th, will be the Gauntlet, right? Which is a very exciting event that is 4-deck, 4-set sealed. So, and this one also has a SAS cap, so that way Z can't come and crush us all, as I tell everybody, because otherwise he will.
Did you say sealed? It's not sealed.
No.
100% not sealed. Yeah, you said sealed.
4-deck, 4-set, Archon, Survival.
Yes.
Right?
Survival.
And we say,
75 SAS cap. That's what it is.
That's right. And we say you must be well equipped to challenge the Gauntlet. You got to bring 1 deck from Coda, AOA, Worlds Collide, and Mass Mutation. You got to be thrifty, so you can only have your decks are capped at 75. I'm allowing January or February SAS scores. You must be fast to survive the Gauntlet. So any games that go to time, the result is both decks are eliminated. To go along with this, we have the rule of don't be a jerk. So if you bring a Heart of the Forest deck that doesn't have a win con, where it's expecting to win and you're just going to drag the time out, I'm not going to eliminate your opponent's deck. You will still get eliminated. So if you bring a Heart deck and go to time, your opponent's going to get a pass. Because there are people who have said, well, I'm just going to bring a heart deck and kill somebody's deck with my AOA because I don't own anything. Well, that's no good.
To be fair, they said it jokingly, but like now there is a rule specifically against it. Because the golden rule is don't be a jerk.
Yes. All right. You got to be dedicated because this is a true survival event. It could go a lot of rounds. Right now, we're at like 10 signed up, ready to go players. We have another week. So I expect to get a few more.
I'm in.
We're planning for
Don't
up
forget
to
about
7.
me.
Yes.
We're
planning for 7 rounds on the 27th. And then if we have enough players that we need to, we're going to run up to 7 more rounds on March 6th, right? If we had a full 48 players in this, which is kind of the high end of what I would dream for this, I would be expecting to run 7 rounds on the 27th and 7 rounds on the 6th. As it is, if the player count stays lower, we probably won't have to run a lot on the 6th. After that, any other additional rounds will just be run league style with the players that are left, and they'll get them in when they can, right? You got to be invested. It's $15. Got to be on the Discord. You got to register with us, and you can find all the information, obviously, through our Discord, which is attached to the show notes all the time.
Yep.
So that is the gauntlet, right? So it's awesome. You got to play all your sets, have a ton of fun, and then the prizes, right? Because it's all about prizes. For some of us, we have the Shadows Premier OP kit to give away for this. So that's that Dusk Runner figure. We got Runner. We got Dusk Runner playmats, and then I have house tokens from all 3 houses that they've done them for: Star Alliance, Shadows, and Dis. We have the house tokens from all those, and then we're also converting every 8 players that sign up is going to be a box of Dark Tidings that goes into the prize pool as well. So if you go check out the spreadsheet, it explains how all the prizes get given out, but you can win Dark Tidings figures, you can win Dusk Runner figures, you win these cool house tokens. So it should be a fun event with lots of, good, fair competition because we're SASCAPing it.
Alrighty, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. Actually, we're right on schedule here for our Thursday event, Chainbound event. So let's go with Z. Any final thoughts for tonight?
Just keep playing Keyforge. We will have some updates from KFBL coming soon about the March event. Get in the events, get playing, and have fun.
JR?
I want to send a big shout out to all my Texas friends. I know that you've been hit pretty hard with the weather, so anyone down south, stay safe. We're thinking about you. If you can, play Keyforge. If there's anything we can do, please reach out to us on Discord, or at least me. We're all part of a family and a community, so we care about you guys.
And Sir Dan.
Yeah, keep forging keys, keep playing in events, keep supporting your local stores.
Keep that muscle memory up. Right?
Yeah, go practice shuffling.
Go,
so
yeah.
you remember how.
Yeah, I don't remember how. That's going to do it for us this week, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see y'all next week.
Can I say I'm just a sucker for pain? They looking at me like I'm fucking insane. Cause me and you ain't ever one and the same. Like a cut to the vein till you see that blood on the blade. I'm a sicko rap schizo, killing these instrumentals. The illest kid with a pencil make titties swing like a breaststroke. Beast mode like playing your PS3 with a cheat code. Or opening that door when you saw that the sign said keep closed. That sort of